Why is Xiaomi so cheap even with high specs? There seems to be a lot of opinion in these replies, instead of solid, evidence-based reasoning. I, for one, am an avid user of Xiaomi products. I have a phone and several other household items. Who doesn't really believe that the company's core beliefs, low advertising budget and goal to bring accessible technology to everyone is the source of its low selling prices? If you look at the technology market, especially at smartphones, you start to get a clearer picture of operating models. Take Google and Apple as examples. Apple makes money on phones and it makes money on other parts of the ecosystem, hardware and software. Google, on the other hand, doesn't make money on software per se. Android is open source and openly redistributed and modified, but it does cash in on both the hardware and the ecosystem much in the same way. Both of these companies slap margins on top of hardware and exploit their rights as platforms to bring in revenue from ads, licenses, subscriptions, etc. Xiaomi, on the other hand, makes no money on hardware. The margin on their smartphones is next to non-existent, so that leaves the ecosystem to be exploited as MIUI is but a modified version of Android with a focus on offering value-added services that are provided by Xiaomi itself. The other aspect you can't disregard is how Xiaomi is not really a trendsetter. It follows the design and innovations that are put forth by established innovators such as Google and Apple. I have no idea how much the company is spending on R&D on the smartphones area, but I'm willing to guess it is not at all comparable to what its flagship competitors do. Aside from that, I see smartphones only as a gateway to raising awareness among consumers and of bringing customers in. Where the phones are an entryway, everything else looks like an upsell. Come for the phones, stay for everything else, mostly focused on the technology part, especially smart technology. Honestly, from what I see Xiaomi doing, it seems like the company is looking to profit, in the long run, from bringing users in and locking them down via attractive prices and decent products. Let's not forget that they don't have the benefit of owning the ecosystem like Apple and Google, and although they have some freedom to operate within Android, they can never stray away from the ultimate control, which is the App Store. I analyze the problem from the perspective of a Chinese consumer. First of all, the background. The founder Lei Jun do Xiaomi in the decision, has achieved financial freedom. Xiaomi is more to do with the spirit of the internet to provide services to consumers, means that the factors for his money it is not the primary consideration. Second, philosophy. Read Lei Jun's speech carefully. One paragraph. Adhere to the users and make friends. Insist on doing touching good price kind. Insist on sincerity and love values. Believe that the user is our best friend forever. I think this is the core value of Lei Jun as currently operating Xiaomi View. Note the mention of good products, price kind, means that the products are good and not expensive. Lei Jun wants his company to maintain the high quality of Muji and Costco, the low-margin business. Again, Xiaomi is a mobile phone-based, derived from other business areas. For example, TV, router, Xiaomi business, finance and so on. This explains why the mobile phone will be cheaper. Because it could be of high quality and excellent price of mobile phone as a platform to improve the user scale, and then develop in other areas of business. In fact, not all users of large-scale mobile phone market Xiaomi in the use of high quality and low price to get the user to enter the market, such as Xiaomi bracelet, socket, mobile power and so on. Finally, Xiaomi advertising, although in the mainstream media advertising is relatively small, but if the number of public concern WeChat's social networking platform, you will find his public number almost all advertising, but many advertisements have read more than 100,000 plus, so his internet thinking is advanced, and as effective. You might as well ask, why is Google search so cheap? The price of a product is a strategic business decision flowing from the business model the company is trying to execute. Xiaomi entered the mobile phone market when there were several well-established competitors. They needed a differentiator. Their differentiator was that they would create a phone that gave its users a perceived premium experience, at a price that was substantially lower than what other premium phones were priced at. If they had not made this decision, it's possible they would never have reached the level of traction they have achieved. So this value proposition, high specs, low price, was the starting point. Every other decision was likely a consequence of this starting point. Xiaomi has raised at least $3.4 billion in funding. 1. They are currently profitable, but they did not start off being profitable, they required a lot of capital to get to where they are today. The business mechanism Xiaomi followed was to get volumes high enough, even if it meant burning a lot of cash, to the point where they were able to manage their supply chain to bring down the input price of their components. This is not a novel business model, and several companies have lost leaders as they try to gain volume. It is, however, a capital-intensive model, and in an area like consumer electronics, a risky one. I admire Xiaomi for having pulled it off successfully. A lot of answers here talk about how Xiaomi doesn't do ads in stores. You can rest assured that if Xiaomi needed to do ads in stores to gain traction, they would certainly have. It was fortunate that the brand achieved a certain virality because of a great product, great price, and clever engagement of happy customers, and Xiaomi was therefore able to keep marketing costs relatively low. However, when we are talking at the scale of $3.4 billion in capital, Xiaomi could very well have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing if the need arose. And we do see now, with other phones from Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, Moto etc. competing with them, they are investing more in marketing than before. When Xiaomi started, their business model was a bit different from what it is today. They forecast that at a certain point of time, people would spend less money buying new phones, and a lot more money on services within the phone. That was a very insightful forecast, since Apple's services business apps, music, movies, is its fastest growing division by far today. This forecast explains why Xiaomi spent so much of effort customizing their OS MIUI and building their own apps on top of it. However, Xiaomi was never able to reach the scale that Apple did, and so this business model didn't work out per plan. If it had, I would expect that Xiaomi would have started selling their phones at a loss, in order to gain an enormous market share in the mobile space, and then made back all of their money on the software layer. This is analogous to how Google gives its search away for free and monetizes on ads.